G'day, this is Captainoob, and this is a PP-19 Bizon. It is a submachine gun type weapon offered in the Russian Assault Pack, which contains a lot of weapons, but I'm only going to be looking at the PP-19 in this particular video. So what you get is a highly customizable standalone submachine gun type weapon with custom sounds and animations, and looking at the meshes and textures, you already know that this is going to be an extremely high quality package. Very impressed right off the bat here. Let's get into the attachments, and they actually do these things a little bit differently to what we see in most mods, which is very interesting. So going over the more impressive ones or more different ones, you've got this sealed chamber, which will increase your damage slightly but massively increase the range. You've got one for rapid firing, which won't penalize your range, but it'll increase your damage. And then you've got hardened, which will penalize your range slightly and fire rate, but give you the best type of damage. So in order to make this a unique version, I suppose, or I'm going to have a couple of these, I'm going to tune this one to be the best at range. So the sealed chamber is definitely the best for that. We'll move on to the iron sights. Now you can chuck on some iron sights, glow versions of that, some reflex sights, and if you scroll down, you actually get a 3.5 times scope, which is probably overkill, so I don't really feel like doing that. So what I want to do is chuck on something cool. Do they have a Basker? Of course they do. That's a good reflex sight. I quite like those. Anyways, so in terms of a muzzle, you can put on a suppressor, a compensator, barrel extender, which will increase your range even more. Like I said, I'm going to be tuning this one to range, so having an extra barrel length means the powder has more space to burn up, I suppose. I think that's how it works. And it'll make the bullet fly faster. Very nice. So an increase of range and accuracy there. 287 range out of this thing, which is impressive for a weapon that only fires the very small bullets. And we can chuck on a comfort grip here to be better held by humans. That works. It makes it look comfortable, and comfort is important if you're running around carrying weapons like this for extended periods of time, yes. Now, in terms of different ammo, you can chuck in some hollow point, armor piercing, and high velocity. I've got the high velocity ones in now. Like I said, I'm going to be tuning these for maximum range, although 191 is probably enough, but 287 is so high, I'm going to keep that. So you can have low caliber and higher caliber. Obviously with the higher caliber, there's less space to put the bullets in because they're a bit bigger, so you get a slightly lower capacity. And then they've got this 64 round flechette, which is interesting because of the way for damage resistance works. It does less damage, so honestly you'd be shooting yourself in the foot chucking that on, but it's there if you need it. Be kind of like a rapid shotgun. 6 smaller projectiles individually doing less damage, although devastating, should put that in quotations. Anyways, so for the attachments, you can have a flashlight or a laser sight on here. Laser sight and flashlight go on opposite sides. You can't have both though, which is kind of interesting. I don't know why. And you can change the stock for this thing. You can have a removed entirely, a light stock, which is very uncomfortable but possibly effective, and a wooden stock, polymer, and tactical. Looks pretty good, I guess. It's going to be a very tricked out looking PP-19, I guess. Let's move on to the next attachment slot, which is just materials for the stock. I guess they're both made out of polymer. So not only are they lightweight, but they're strong, and you can change the color of them. I'm going to keep that as grey right now, and if the damage isn't quite doing it for you, you can boost it some more using this little slider here, and you can change the receiver camo or whatever to whatever you want here. Unfortunately, it doesn't really carry over to the polymer, but you could possibly match the polymer with the general color. If I were to chuck on, is there urban here? Let's just go, there's urban. Gives you a nice urban pattern on it. Doesn't look too bad with the stock being grey and black, so that's pretty good. And moving over to the actual sights, this is just going to change the reticule on the Basker, which is awesome. I'm going to see if there's a chevron here, or a plus, an X, a T. Yeah, I go for a T. Chuck in a red T like the old Cobra sights in Battlefield 3, and you can change the emissive. I believe that just changes the color of the reflex sight, but we'll have to see whether that's working. And there's a legendary effect slot if you need it. But anyways, here's one. I'm going to create a couple more, and I'll see you where we usually shoot people. Alrighty, so here we are inside of Gunner's Plaza, and this is what it looks like in first person. Not too bad, and if you bash, you kind of just slap them with the end of the stock, which, you know, probably won't do a whole lot of damage, but, you know, custom bash animations are there. Looking at it in third person, looks pretty good. No glaring clipping, and everything seems to be held pretty well. It is scaled pretty well too. The stock doesn't seem to be going through the shoulder, so that's pretty good. And you also might notice how this one's got a scope on it. Now, thankfully, they've made it a non-see-through scope, but it's entirely stable. Like, I'm not holding my breath right now. That's just kind of how stable it is, which is interesting. But anyway, taking a look at the damage again, just reminding ourselves of it, you'll notice how it's only got 96 damage. Now, I'm playing on very hard difficulty, which gives you a 50% damage penalty. And factoring in the armor with this, the armor of the targets that I'm shooting at, as you can tell, despite it being tuned for range, I'm hitting them for less than 40, which is a big no-no. That's not very viable at all. I don't know why they all started glowing either. So despite it being a weapon with lots of capacity, lots of bullets to be spewed out of the thing, it's not very good. Like I said before, this one is tuned to range, and we're not going to be seeing much of a benefit here. But if I grab this one, it's got a suppressor in the hardened receiver, so we get a little bit of extra damage. And if we can sneak, we get a nice 4.4 times multiplier. But no use on sneaking now. I'm pretty sure the jig is up at this point. Oh yeah, this person already ran at me and died. That's okay. So, in terms of how it is balanced, in terms of, like, the higher difficulties in this game, you've always got that damage slider if the damage isn't quite doing it for you, and believe you me, it isn't doing it for me, so, good on the modders to, for putting that in. It means it's nice and balanced on lower difficulties, but when you get into Bethesda high difficulty, which is basically making everything a bullet sponge, you'll struggle a little bit. Also, I don't think this suppressor is quite as sneaky as what other suppressors in the game would be, but that's okay. Taking a look at this thing in VATS as we go and shoot at Captain Bridget for a while, it's not actually too bad, and I managed to actually get sneak attack criticals on that second burst hit, which is going to make the damage a little bit crazy, which is good. If you get this kind of damage on any sort of enemy, you've got a huge mag count to, keep on firing at. So you can just keep on firing, getting that multiplier for a long time. You don't have to pause to reload every so often, which I completely unnecessarily did right now. That's a missile launcher. You need to die. There we go. I've also turned the hit markers off because people were saying they were too loud. We've still got the Battlefield 1 kill sound though because... Ooh, you've got a staggering weapon. Who was that? Wasn't you. You've got a vanilla assault rifle. You've got Captain Bridget's gun. No, that's not going to happen, mate. Good on the criticals, but honestly, what gun isn't good with using criticals? There's someone else in my face. You're only a basic gunner. I'm going to bash you to death. See what kind of damage we can do. Honestly, not worth it, but like I said before, it doesn't look like you were hitting people that hard when you just kind of slap them across the face with the stock anyway. I don't know. But regardless of that, we'll keep on shooting. This one has slightly higher rate of fire than my one tuned for absolute damage. It's also got a scope on, which I'll endeavour to use at this point. It shouldn't be too hard. Depending on how the recoil wants to treat me, we might have some sort of difficulty finding out our targets here. No, we're kind of far away enough to get back into caution, and that kill was from 24 meters, which is not terrible, but we're still in very close range in Gunner's Plaza, so it's kind of where the sweet spot of this submachine gun ought to be effective, because the bullets generally won't be too far accurate, at least in real life, outside of it, but it is reflected by the somewhat low range stats of this thing, especially this one, 71 range. Yeah, definitely that one, but yeah, altogether the animations are good, the presentation of this weapon is certainly good, but the damage isn't doing it for me, so I'll go over to a weapons workbench and tune it up a little bit. Alrighty, so I've given all of my PP-19s a 60% boost in damage, which should help it be a little bit more viable. And there's just this guy in a hat. Don't talk to him, he'll probably tip it and say "milady." Not a good person if he does that. So now we're doing significantly better damage. These guys are in the Raider veterans, which are not very, like, they're nothing compared to the tough gunners, so, for what it's worth, it seems to be doing slightly better now. Against the bear, however, it'll kind of fall behind, and I'll just grab out my one with a suppressor because the extra damage on this will boost it. And the glow sights seem to be less obnoxious during the night. That's kind of weird. Maybe it was just because of the lighting. It wasn't exactly sundown yet. But in terms of dealing with these super mutants, what I'm going to do is probably... Wow, okay, I didn't expect a super mutant to get thrown around like that after being shot by small bullets, but here we are. Gonna have to tap fire this at range because it's got a little bit of inaccuracy to it over range, which honestly you don't see a lot of in Fallout 4. So, you know, making this thing stick to its own particular range is, whilst jarring because most weapons are quite accurate in the vanilla game, it makes this have a little bit more of an identity and more of a purpose as a close quarters, high capacity type thing. But, you know, in terms of how it'll go against stuff already in the vanilla game, you'll probably get outshot by, say, Nuka World handmaids, which, you know, makes this feel less viable by comparison. But, you know, going over the weapons in this game, everything's moddable, and you don't really need exceptionally powerful weapons. There's no big 30,000 health hit point bosses out there to kill with 70% damage resistance to deal with, so you can get away with most things in this game. Weirdly, I'm throwing the super mutant corpses around, so for some reason there's a lot of force behind these bullets, the high caliber bullets, which I believe are chambered in, it's all in 10 mil, isn't it? Let me just check that. Yeah, they're all, oh wait, this one's in 45. This one currently is in 10 mil, but if you do chuck on the higher caliber, it'll be in 45, which is kind of cool. It's a nice touch, despite it, you know, not being the rounds this would actually fire in real life. They've made it work with what sizes of rounds are actually in Fallout 4, which is good because you don't have to go and, you know, find the different ammo types in game to actually make the weapons work, which I believe is one of the cardinal sins of making a weapon mod. Like, for instance, that ASVAL thing, the 9x19mm project, you have to go and find the bullets for that, which means as soon as you kill an enemy, they've only got like half a magazine left on them. Nah, you're not gonna bother using that thing because you just don't have the bullets for it. So you'll end up either console commanding yourself a shit ton of bullets or crafting them. Granted, they do make it easy to craft it, but still, just having a nice light show, by the way, having the ability just to use standard vanilla game stuff is much preferred. Takes a lot of the hassle out of... That one went through me bloody legs, Jesus Christ. There's just been a lot of missile launcher guys today, apparently. No, I'd like to target this guy, please. I'm gonna crit so I can go wall hacks through Gerald's leg there. Alright, so we're in kind of a bad position here. What I might do is get behind something and break his pathing. Can I fit under there? Yes, I can. Good old Winter. Alright. Gotta get ourselves into caution. Not quite there yet, but he's kind of backing off, which means good. Now, we're getting the damage multiplier, or the range penalizer, as well as the damage penalizer there, but granted I did boost it a little bit. Now, I kind of expected this to be a little bit more higher in the terms of rate of fire, but that's not the case. It's kind of fine how it is, but you're having that a little bit of extra punch, and you could tune it to have a much higher rate of fire if you want, but it'll make it less ammo efficient in the long term. But maybe it's because I'm used to using the Killzone version of this. They kind of fused together an Uzi and this weapon to make their PP-19 that their Hellgast use, and that's a sick weapon. I actually made a Killzone weapons mod, and that was part of it. Unfortunately, I had to give it the submachine gun animation, so the animations don't line up properly, but I wonder if I could just, jury rig these particular animations on that. I wonder if that'll work. Maybe. Still need to find the good bullpup animations for the rifles though, and the LMG. I'm gonna need the Fallout 76 animations for that. Welcome to the glowing sea, otherwise known as green hell. There's a noxious glowing one, and I'm going to shoot him until he dies. Come on, concentrated fire, do your thing. Okay, as it turns out, it's a little bit more squishy than I thought. Wow, okay. The ghoul down near the big-ass boat that went on land is a little bit tougher than that. Hey, there's a legendary ghoul. It strikes me that there's no, real good places to farm ghouls. I think ghoul is triggered. Oh yeah, he's friendly because ghoul is triggered. That's nice. That's a skill that Iris taught the angels. They're not all ghouls on the inside. We don't lack ghouls. You notice how there isn't any angel ghouls? There's a reason for that. It's because they ugly and also smell bad. That's why I hate Hancock. He'd smell like a corpse, and that's not good. That car almost killed me. Bloody hell. Let's move on. Okay, middle of the day. I'm gonna shoot this one with a scope. Let's see how we do. Every now and then I'm getting over 100 damage. I'm gonna go in VATS because it's a little bit twitchy, and so is the weapon. Okay, it's definitely doing solid work, and there's the reload animation in third person. I don't think I've shown that off yet, but it's there. It's pretty good. Very solid work. They're not War Daddy tier animations, but for what they are, it's new animations, and I'm always happy to see some new animations injected into the game. And remember, once they've started animating stuff, they can only improve from 45 meters. I feel like that's a little bit more than 45 meters, but whatever. Maybe it's measuring in the what the game supposedly calls meters, which is interesting because you'd think it'd be some sort of imperial measurements because Bethesda is in Maryland, they're all American. But anyways, I think you get the idea of the PP-19. This is part of the Russian assault pack. Does it not actually aim level? I have to tilt the camera up a little bit to make it hold level. But yeah, if you'd like to see this particular weapon in your game, check out the description. That's a very intense reload. You're really just cranking the bullets in there, aren't you? Interesting. If you'd like to see this thing in your game, links in the description. Again, if you want to see more of the Russian assault pack on this channel, I'm happy to do. I'm actually interested in doing the SVD next. I reckon that'd be cool. A little bit of clipping there. Don't worry, that's just a modded idle stance. Put that away. That's fine. So yeah, if you'd like to see more of this mod, let me know. Thank you very much for watching, guys.